Welcome back, everyone, to the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video, the Tuesday evening edition. We are through 17 days of October, and we haven't had very many normal days in the temperature department so far this month. The month started out really warm. We had 80s from the 1st through the 5th, and then a big transition from the 6th through the 8th. That first weekend of the month was much cooler, and we've been cool largely for the last couple of weeks now, or a week and a half anyway. We had a seasonable day last Wednesday, fairly seasonable last Friday, but today we only did 52. That was it. It underachieved a little bit today in the temperature department thanks to all the clouds that we had for today. Now, despite all the blue boxes on this map, or on this chart, I should say, or on this graphic, when you factor in high temperatures and low temperatures, and of course taking into account the very warm start to the month, we're still running above the average, 1.4 degrees above the average through the first 17 days of October. Yeah, Gloom City today, a lot of clouds. We even had some mist and drizzle here and there this morning, especially in Columbiana County. Otherwise, just a ho-hum day for our Tuesday, just as we kind of expected. Looking down on the clouds from above now this evening, still have this thick deck of stratocumulus clouds across eastern Ohio, the panhandle of West Virginia, western Pennsylvania, but notice there is some clearing out to the west. I don't think this is going to march eastward all night. I don't think the sky will turn just clear later on tonight, but I think there can be some partial clearing towards daybreak tomorrow morning and into the daylight hours on our Wednesday. You know, it's that time of the year where when the weather wants to be quiet, it really wants to be quiet. It's one of those October days today where there's just not much going on nationwide from coast to coast, hardly a raindrop to be found, aside from a couple in the deserts of the Southwest and this system near the U.S.-Canadian border. We also have some rain coming into Seattle and up towards Vancouver. But boy, that is about it. Otherwise, it is very, very quiet. All right, our Wednesday. Not exactly a beautiful day, but hey, we'll take it. Some intervals of sunshine for our Wednesday. Sending temperatures back to the upper 50s and lower 60s. Warm front lifts off to the north. Now, as we go into the day Thursday, clouds will increase. The sky may look a little threatening in the afternoon. A lot of this is going to struggle, I think, to reach the ground. There might be a sprinkle or a shower before the afternoon is through on Thursday, but I think the higher rain chances will actually come later in the evening Thursday and into Thursday night into Friday morning as this front really hits the brakes and more moisture is drawn up from the Gulf of Mexico with this front. I do think we'll have some rainy times into Friday morning, and that chance for scattered showers at least will continue through football time Friday evening, and more showers will be a possibility as we head into the first half of the weekend. So overall, our rain chances in our current forecast highest late Thursday night into Friday, but you'll notice they're still kind of elevated Friday night into Saturday. By Sunday, still have a little bit of model disagreement on how fast moisture tries to pull away. We're going to keep a low-end chance for a shower in our Sunday forecast for now, but either way, it's going to be a blustery and chilly end to this upcoming weekend. Temperatures Sunday probably fairly similar to today. Speaking of those temperatures, you know, we haven't had a freeze yet this year. We haven't really had frost in many places at all just yet this year. This is likely going to change, though, Monday night into Tuesday morning of next week. Now, these are just model numbers. You know, not everyone's going to have exactly these temperatures, but you get the idea. We're going to flirt with the freezing mark in some spots, I think, by daybreak on Tuesday. At the very least, we'll have a pretty good chance for some thick frost first thing for Tuesday morning. So we're talking about a week from today in the morning hours, maybe a frosty start to the day. I think it'll warm up later next week. Now let's look ahead to the longer range. We're going to do kind of an official-ish November outlook towards the end of this week, maybe early next week. But I'll show you some model information this evening. This is what we call the European Weeklies. This is a long-range suite of modeling from the European Center. Just like any other suite of computer modeling, it has its good days and its bad. But it does have some utility, some use to us when we peer ahead into the longer range. What we're looking at here is November precipitation anomalies based on this suite of computer modeling. And I think generally it has, generally speaking, probably the right idea given some of the larger scale things globally that may be going on as we head into November. What I would expect in November to have happen is a lot of storms crashing into the West Coast. It looks like a pretty unsettled month in the Pacific Northwest and maybe down into California. And then the systems, as they emerge out into the plain states, pick up a lot of Gulf of Mexico moisture. And actually, this is good news for a lot of areas that are very dry. It's been a very dry stretch in the Mississippi Valley, lower Ohio Valley. Now, this may come with several severe weather threats in that same area. You know, we get into a second severe weather season once we get into November. It's typically, of course, not as big of a season as April and May and June. but oftentimes in November we see a fairly distinct uptick in the severe weather across parts of the country, especially right out here across the Mississippi Valley. So yeah, in those areas could be a pretty unsettled month with severe weather risks. The signal is not as strong once you're into our part of the country, really from Ohio into the Northeast. The signal for heavy precipitation events not as strong in November. Of course, we're going to have some rain, but will it be as wet compared to the average around here as it will be in places like St. Louis, New Orleans, places like that? Probably not. Yeah, this is, we're looking down now at the northern hemisphere, kind of at the jet stream level almost. Technically, this is the 500 millibar level, so we're not quite up to the jet stream, but, a ways up in the atmosphere, up to about 18,000 feet or so. And you can kind of pick out, this is a pattern average over the 30-day period, basically all of November. So there's going to be some variation, but when you average it all out, this is generally what November can look like as far as a weather pattern, configuration is concerned. Big screaming jet coming into the west coast. And then downstream of that, you have some ridging here, but these systems coming into the west, once they get out of the Rockies, are probably going to start picking up a lot of moisture from the Gulf. And it doesn't look like a particularly chilly November at this point with this kind of a setup for us. But it may end up being kind of active, especially just off to our west. But this is a pretty stout signal in November for a very active jet stream coming into the western U.S. Now, will this general pattern continue into December? That remains to be seen, but I'll tell you, if you've been watching these videos of late, I've dropped a couple of comments about the winter forecast of late, and what happens after the first of the year is a subject of intense debate at this point, I would say, but right now, pretty good confidence that we're probably going to have a pretty balmy December, or a kickoff to meteorological winter. That'll be a key aspect to our upcoming winter forecast, which will be coming out in very early November. Odds are strongly favoring a very mild start to the winter season this year in the month of December. More on the longer range, of course, in future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. Thank you, as always, for being a geek and watching this video, and I will see you back here on Wednesday.